James Webb Space Telescope spotted a large object about 10 light-years away moving toward Earth.
For decades, we've searched the stars,
claim that the telescope captured the object changing
but for anomalies, those rare moments when something in the cosmos refuses to obey the rules. Now the James Webb Space Telescope may have found exactly that. What began as a routine observation of the third interstellar object ever recorded in our solar system, 3 Atlas, has turned into something far stranger, far darker, and infinitely more important. Deep in the vast cold void beyond Mars, Webb detected something it shouldn't have, not just reflected light, but a glow that behaves like no comet or asteroid, a signature that follows no known physics of reflection or refraction. 3 Atlas was first spotted as a faint speck on the edge of the solar system, moving with a trajectory no local object could follow, clearly interstellar, flung across the galaxy by some unknown force, and at first it was treated as a cosmic curiosity like its predecessors, Oumuamua and Borisov. But even in its earliest images something felt off. The object was unusually bright for its estimated size and composition, shimmering with an unnatural consistency. Its magnitude did not correspond to the behavior of typical comets, which brighten with outgassing, and instead 3 Atlas remained steady, as if powered from within. Telescopes across the globe turned to observe it, and Webb, with its unparalleled infrared vision, was brought in to decode the mystery. What it saw changed everything. Webb detected a centralized thermal emission that did not correlate with reflected sunlight, an internal heat signature radiating outward rather than scattered light, and thermal mapping revealed a pattern that followed no natural distribution curve. It pulsed faintly and irregularly, cycling at intervals that suggested design rather than randomness. Exotic natural explanations, radioactive decay, subsurface friction, strange isotopes, were proposed and then collapsed as more data arrived. The only consistent explanation left was the one no one wanted to write down. This object might be powered. A profile of 3 Atlas began to emerge that looked nothing like any known celestial body. Its trajectory was too precise to be chaotic, as if it were choosing its path and subtly adjusting course through gravity wells. Its rotation was unnaturally stable, defying typical inertial drift, and its resistance to forming a coma even when exposed to solar radiation suggested a shell or casing protecting it from heat. Measurements of its albedo showed near-perfect reflectivity in places, approaching polished metal rather than rock or ice, so the implications were seismic. If it was metallic, structured, and emitting energy, we might be observing technology. The terms probe, beacon, craft, even artifact began to be whispered in institutional corridors. Most damning was the light itself. Photometric analysis showed emission focused in narrow spectral bands, controlled, specific wavelengths similar to those used in LED arrays, laser communications, and spacecraft beacons, and those bands included frequencies often used in terrestrial communication and guidance systems. The intensity of the light appeared to respond slightly to solar radiation, as though an onboard system was adjusting it in real time. It flickered with a strange intermittent pulse. Signal analyses produced inconclusive but suggestive results. Some saw patterns resembling binary sequences, others a rotating power source, but the conclusion was hard to deny. This was not a passive object. It was doing something deliberate. Deep signal analysis by teams at MIT and Harvard isolated cyclical patterns buried in the noise via Fourier transforms. Within the static was a structured repeating pulse too precise to be natural, an unmistakable fingerprint of intentional encoding. Whether beacon or telemetry, the message had not changed since Webb first detected it, as if 3 Atlas were signaling someone else, not us. News of the discovery spread quickly through scientific and defense institutions. Confidential reports circulated within NASA and beyond, and then a leaked report found its way to an unnamed journalist, propelling the discovery into the public eye and reigniting the oldest, most terrifying question of all: are we alone? Revealed internal coordination among top officials showed global space agencies were already working to determine whether 3 Atlas posed a threat. Some scientists argued it was benign, an ancient probe on a pre-programmed route, centuries old, while others were far less optimistic, raising questions no one could answer. If it's transmitting, who is receiving? If it emits light, does it also have propulsion? If it's here by design, why now? The report even raised the remote but chilling possibility that 3 Atlas was not merely passing through but observing and tracking planetary alignments, electromagnetic fields, or advanced civilizations. An idea that sparked quiet panic because if the object wasn't alone, something else might be on the way. Further study of its luminosity produced a revolutionary hypothesis. The object wasn't just emitting energy, it was harvesting it. Its light output fluctuated with solar proximity, and its apparent lack of chemical activity supported the idea of a solar collection array or photonic absorption system beneath the surface. Lowe and a group of theorists suggested the surrounding dust cloud might serve both as camouflage and as a medium to collect radiation, implying a self-sustaining craft designed to refuel as it traveled between stars, exactly the kind of long-lived interstellar probe some theoretical models predict, dormant for centuries and activating only when a star system of interest is reached. As agencies scrambled, one truth became clear: we are not ready. Leaked internal documents from France, Japan, and Brazil hinted that this could be a first encounter in slow motion, and unlike fiction, there was no dramatic landing or sudden reveal, only data, light, and silence. Then, suddenly, 3 Atlas flared, its luminosity spiked by nearly 40% in under 2 minutes, a rapid brightening accompanied by changes in thermal signature as if systems had powered on, an awakening perhaps triggered by solar proximity or by our observations, and almost certainly intentional. Orbital calculations soon showed a subtle but measurable course change toward the plane of Earth's orbit that gravity alone couldn't explain, suggesting a deliberate maneuver and hinting that this was no relic but a vessel with intent. Spectroscopy added more alarm: traces of highly reflective alloys, rare earth elements, and absorption lines matching compounds unknown to our periodic table, materials resembling theoretical quantum-engineered substances, implying either unfathomable age or manufacture by a civilization far beyond our own. With mounting evidence of a non-natural origin, governments moved urgently and quietly. Encryption on observatory networks increased, research teams were reassigned, satellites were recalibrated, and spacefaring nations held discreet contingency talks. One leaked defense document even proposed that 3 Atlas might be a scout, an operational, long-lived probe built for persistent observation, and if it was scouting, the question haunting everyone was simple and terrifying: scouting for whom? It was looking for what, and more disturbingly, what might come next. Across universities, observatories, and military command centers, one terrifying consensus was forming. We were no longer alone in the universe, and the first contact might not be a conversation but an evaluation. As speculation boiled, a bold team at the SETI Institute took a risk no one else would and transmitted a focused radio pulse toward 3 Atlas containing universal mathematical constants, the periodic table, and basic visual representations of humanity, a cautious cosmic handshake. Days passed, then a week, with no response, and just as the experiment was about to be archived, a monitoring station in Chile registered a narrowband return pulse, off-frequency and distorted, but unmistakably timed to mirror the original message. It wasn't language or an echo, it was a processed ping sent back, and most chillingly, it arrived precisely 72 hours after transmission, meaning whatever received our message had calculated the delay and answered deliberately. After that return ping, observatories worldwide began experiencing synchronized technical anomalies. Webb's infrared instruments produced erratic thermal maps, Hubble's gyros registered microfluctuations despite stable orientation, and ground telescopes suffered misaligned charts, pixel distortions, and frozen data streams, glitches that occurred in coordinated windows as if something didn't want us looking too closely. A Black Ops think tank at ESA proposed the object wasn't merely emitting signals but actively jamming or interfering. A passive visitor doesn't hide, a scout does. Then silence. Web updates were delayed, restricted, and rerouted, public logs vanished, ESA offered vague recalibration statements, NASA went quiet, journals retracted or neutralized coverage, and independent observatories' raw streams were drowned by misinformation. What had been a scientific mystery became a strategic asset, and history shows that when governments classify discoveries, truth often dies in silence. In a last-ditch effort, a coalition of astronomers and mathematicians shifted from expecting communication to seeking proof of intent, and they found the most terrifying pattern. 3 Atlas's path through the solar system, when plotted against planetary positions, traced a Fibonacci arc, while the timing of course corrections, light flares, and the ping response correlated with prime number sequences. The odds of this occurring naturally were astronomically low. These patterns were chosen, implying the object was navigating with mathematical precision, as if following a map or schedule. Some theorists whispered that this might not be an interstellar probe so much as an interstellar message made of behavior, and that we had just decoded the first word. As the dust settled, one truth remained impossible to ignore: 3 Atlas was never just a rock. From its unnatural light and return signal to rare materials and calculated trajectory changes, every piece pointed to a single uncomfortable conclusion: we have not been alone for a very long time, and perhaps we were never meant to know. The James Webb Telescope, built to peer into the birth of galaxies, may instead have glimpsed something designed to look back, ancient, deliberate, and watching from the threshold of our celestial neighborhood. Yet silence reigns. Agencies refuse to speak and data is withheld. The world, it seems, has been deemed not ready. But we saw the light, we tracked the path, and now we ask what happens next. Was 3 Atlas simply passing through, cataloging our world before moving on, or was it the first of many, a probe ushering something greater, waiting for a signal to advance? In the end, it may not matter whether 3 Atlas is machine or something else. What matters is that it came, it saw, and it responded. And now, somewhere in the cold dark, something may be turning its attention toward the blue planet that blinked first. The countdown, perhaps, has already begun, and the universe once again reminds us, we are not the center, we are the observed.